The hidden psychology of people who rise from zero to mastery. Most people who start with nothing stay with nothing. Not because they are less intelligent, not because they work less hard, not because the system is entirely rigged against them, though sometimes it is.
Not working less hard.
They stay because of
Not
something
entirely
nobody
the
ever
system.
talks about.
Something else.
Something that operates
Operating
below the level
all
of
these,
strategy,
understanding
below the level
goal,
of skill,
strategy,
below the
skill,
level
and
of effort.
is important. But true
A
potential
psychological
unlocks through
architecture that was
psychological
built during the
architecture.
years of scarcity,
Built
and that
during
quietly
years of
sabotages
scarcity.
every attempt to leave it behind.
Quietly sabotages every
But there is a
attempt to
small
leave it
percentage of
behind.
people who start from the
A
same
small
place and don't
percentage
stay
don't.
there. They
Start
move,
from the same
they
place
rise,
and don't
they
stay
build
there.
something from nothing. Not by being exceptional in the ways the world celebrates, but by being different in ways the world rarely sees.
Different in ways the world
Today,
rarely sees.
we decode what
You've been
separates
working
them.
on tactics and
Not the
habits,
tactics,
but to really make
not the
progress,
habits,
you need to dig
not the
deeper.
morning
It's
routines.
about the psychology underneath
The psychology underneath all of it.
The person
The
who
hidden
rises
operating
from
system of the
zero to
person who
mastery.
rises from zero to mastery. Let's start with the thing nobody wants to hear. Starting from zero is not just a financial condition, it is a psychological one. And the psychological damage of scarcity, the beliefs it installs, the identity it creates, the future it makes feel impossible, is often far more difficult to overcome than the financial gap itself. Researchers who study upward mobility have found something consistent across cultures and economic systems. The primary barrier to leaving poverty is not access to opportunity. It is the internalized belief that opportunity is not for people like you. This belief is not irrational. It was built from evidence. From watching the people around you try and fail. From learning, very early, that the world has different rules for different people. From absorbing the silent message that ambition in your environment is naive at best and dangerous at worst. The person who rises from zero has to do something extraordinarily difficult. They have to act against the evidence of their entire lived experience. They have to build a future that nothing in their past has prepared them to believe in. That requires a specific kind of psychology. And it looks nothing like what motivational culture tells you it looks like. The first thing that separates people who rise is not ambition. It is a particular relationship with pain. Most people respond to the pain of scarcity in one of two ways. They become paralyzed by it, overwhelmed by the gap between where they are and where they want to be, until the gap itself becomes the reason not to try. Or they become numb to it, adapting so completely to the conditions of scarcity that the discomfort disappears, and with it, the urgency to change. The person who rises does neither. They develop what psychologists call adaptive pain processing. The ability to hold the discomfort of their current reality without being destroyed by it and without becoming comfortable with it. They feel the weight of where they are. They use it. They let it inform their decisions without letting it define their ceiling. This is not the toxic positivity of pretending things are fine. It is the opposite. It is the willingness to look at exactly how bad things are and decide, from that place of clear-eyed honesty, what the next move is. The person who rises does not run from their starting point. They use it as data. The second thing is a recalibration of time. Scarcity compresses time. When you are surviving, the future is abstract, and the present is everything. Every decision gets evaluated against immediate need, because immediate need is real and the future is uncertain. This is neurologically accurate, not a character flaw. The brain under scarcity literally cannot allocate cognitive resources to long-term planning. The present threat always wins. But the person who rises learns to deliberately expand their time horizon. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough. They begin making small decisions that their present self cannot yet benefit from. They plant things they will not harvest for months or years. They build slowly in private while the immediate environment continues to demand their attention. This temporal shift is one of the most profound psychological transformations a human being can undergo. It is the moment the brain stops operating in survival mode and begins operating in strategic mode. It does not happen through motivation. It happens through repeated, deliberate practice. Choosing the longer view, again and again, even when the shorter view is screaming. The third thing is a redefinition of identity before the evidence arrives. Here's the pattern that almost no one talks about. Most people wait for success to change how they see themselves. They believe the sequence is achieve something, then feel like someone who achieves things. Build something is then feel like a builder. Rise, then feel like someone who rises. But the psychology of people who actually make the journey suggests the sequence runs in the opposite direction. They begin to carry the identity of who they are becoming before they have any external proof. Not as delusion, not as pretending the gap doesn't exist, but as a quiet internal orientation that changes which decisions feel available, which opportunities feel relevant, and which version of themselves they default to under pressure. Psychologists call this identity-based behavior change. The research is clear. People who change their identity first change their behavior more durably than people who change their behavior first and hope the identity follows. The person who rises does not wait to feel like they belong in a better life. Yet they decide they belong there long before the better life arrives and begin moving accordingly. This decision, made in private, with no external validation, with no evidence yet that it will work, is one of the most psychologically demanding things a human being can do. It is also one of the most transformative. The fourth thing is the ability to learn from environments that were never designed to teach them. People who start from zero rarely have mentors, structured pathways, or institutional support. They do not have networks that open doors or families that model the kind of success they are trying to build. They have to extract lessons from everything, and from failure, from watching other people closely, from reading rooms, from pattern recognition built through years of navigating environments where the rules were never explained to them. This is where the observer's advantage becomes critical. The person who rises from zero has often developed, out of necessity, an acute ability to read situations, people, and systems. They learned early that understanding the room was survival. They learned to find the pattern underneath the surface behavior. They learned to extract information from environments that were not offering it freely. This skill, refined through difficulty rather than design, becomes one of their greatest strategic assets. Because the ability to read what is actually happening, beneath what is being said, beneath what is being performed, is rare. And in professional environments, in business, in any competitive context, it is decisive. What felt like a disadvantage becomes the edge. What felt like something to overcome becomes the thing that makes them impossible to replicate. The fifth thing, and the one that most clearly separates those who rise from those who don't, is their relationship with belonging. Scarcity environments create a specific form of social pressure, the pressure to stay. Not through cruelty, though sometimes through cruelty, but through loyalty, through identity, through the unspoken rule that leaving is betrayal. When you begin to change, the people around you often feel it as a judgment of their choice not to. Your ambition implies their complacency. Your growth creates distance. And that distance is painful, for you and for them. The person who does not rise often stops here. Not because they ran out of strategy or skill, but because the psychological cost of moving away from their origin community is too high. They choose belonging over becoming. The person who rises learns to hold both. They do not abandon where they came from. They do not pretend the origin doesn't exist or doesn't matter, but they refuse to let it become a ceiling. They find a way to honor the people and the place that shaped them, while simultaneously refusing to be limited by the conditions that shaped them. This is not disloyalty. It is the hardest, most loving thing you can do for the people you care about, to show them that the conditions they accepted as permanent are not. You do not rise by leaving your people behind. You rise by refusing to confirm the story that no one from here ever does. Here is what all 5 of these patterns have in common. None of them are about talent. None of them are about luck or timing or being in the right place. None of them are the things that culture celebrates when it tells the story of someone who made it. They are all internal. They are all quiet. They are all the kind of work that happens in private, long before any external result arrives to confirm that it is working. The person who rises from zero does not look like they are doing anything remarkable for most of the journey. They look like they are simply enduring, waiting, observing, moving slowly.
If
What
any
nobody
part of
sees
this
is that
describes
every
where
single
your
day they
standing
are making
stands,
small decisions
hear
that
this.
compound. Every day they are choosing the
Analyzing
identity
psychology
slightly ahead of the
people who
evidence.
rise. Instead of
Every day they are
consuming
expanding the
content
time
designed to
horizon by
distract.
one more increment. Every day they are
Already
extracting a
operating like
lesson from
someone
an
who's
environment that was not designed to
Already
give
using
them one.
position as data.
And then, at some
Already
point that is
thinking in a
impossible
longer
to
time
predict,
frame.
but entirely possible
That
to
is not
engineer,
nothing.
everything that
That
was
is the
invisible becomes
beginning of everything.
undeniable. They didn't get lucky. They got consistent in ways that nobody was watching. If any part of this video described the place you are standing right now, the gap that feels too large, the past that feels too heavy, the future that feels like it belongs to someone else, hear this clearly. The fact that you are analyzing the psychology of people who rise instead of consuming content designed to keep you distracted tells me something important about you. You are already operating like someone who is building. You are already using your position as data instead of verdict. You are already thinking in a longer time frame than the people around you. That is not nothing. That is the beginning of everything. Subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the psychology underneath the outcomes, the patterns that separate survival from mastery, the code that runs beneath the surface of every success story that gets
The
told.
hidden operating system
Too simply,
Tala.
you started from
Already running.
somewhere. That somewhere is not your destination. The journey from zero is not about leaving where you came from. It is about becoming someone your starting point could never have predicted. That person is already forming. Right now, in the silence where no one is watching. Rise accordingly.